So my name's Reed, or better known on pretty much YouTube and Twitter and everywhere as Electric Shock. I've been doing YouTube since about 2012, so since I was 12 years old, and I'm about 19 now. Oh, bro. Ooh. Ah, that was dirty. Whoa! Whoa! The rarest dance in the game. Do you have it?
No. I can see.
Oh! Oh! I started gaming when I was, I don't know, probably too young to even remember. You know, my dad was like, hey, try this game out. You know, that's what really got me into gaming. So I found Call of Duty 1 at this discount store on CD, and that was really my start. For a few years, I've been making myself a staple in the G Fuel community. They see my video, they recognize my thumbnail, they know that I'm honest about reviewing the products. They know that I go very into depth. Live streaming, you connect with your fan base so much more, especially when you're a streamer that actually pays attention and replies to the chat as much as you can. And you know, as the simplest thing like saying their name and being like, hey Josh, what's up? They will subscribe just when they do that. I've learned a lot about that from streaming. My whole thing is not be the biggest out there. I don't make a video every day being like, oh, I want more money. Oh, I want to grow so much. I'm just satisfied when some people watch my video. You literally have to have the mindset of, even though I'm not growing, I'm making a video today. Even though I didn't get a sub, I'm still streaming.
I feel like stereotype is just you're sitting alone in your room, you know, with like Cheetos, Mountain Dew, just mindlessly playing. But I don't think a lot of people realize that how much like mentality and mindset goes into it.
Big slam coming.
Got 5.
Big slam!
I saw there, something don't work.
On MLB tonight.
High drive! Left field! It is out of here!
Hostile UAV above. UAV waiting orders.
Well, Bobby, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you coming down to talk to us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Definitely. I know you're really familiar with the format of how we do this, but for the sake of it all, I'll just get started. Tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself.
My name's Jar Burnside, but everyone in the gaming world knows me as Bobby. Currently a senior at Clemson. I run the Clemson Esports Club, and I also play for our Overwatch team.
That's really amazing. I can't wait to get into all the little details of how much you're involved in the Clemson Esports program and compete. But before that, how can you tell us a little bit of how you got started? Or rather, how did you get started in gaming?
So it's actually a cool story. I remember I was really big into Halo 3, and then I went to my friend's house, and I noticed he was playing on like a map I'd never seen. I was like, how are you playing against these people? Like, oh, it's something called Xbox Live. And before that, I never knew you could play like online, so I immediately went home and I was like, Dad, we need to get Xbox Live. And so I remember we got it the day Obama became president, because I remember it was snowing for some reason in January. And I remember Geek Squad was there because at the time I didn't know how to do any of this. And we watched the inauguration and then had Xbox Live up, and then I played Halo 3 for the rest of the day. So I got started with Halo and then basically went straight into Call of Duty. Played Call of Duty 4 for a long time. I have a couple thousand hours in that game, and mostly it was just playing all the Call of Duties, and then eventually switched over to PC with Counter-Strike, and now Overwatch is where all my time is.
So then you're primarily a console player to begin with from like the Halo Bungie scene, and then you've kind of pivoted over to the PC officially, right?
Yeah, I played console way more than I played PC, but now I'm basically only PC.
How long did it take you to convert your mechanics over?
Oh god, when I started off Counter-Strike, I was awful. I was one of those people like, oh, let me just use a controller, but I was like, no, I gotta break that habit. Because I even hold a controller weird. I hold it claw, which like, if people, I didn't even know that was the wrong way to hold it until people came over and it was like, why are you a mutant holding the controller like that?
How did you just stumble into the claw? Did someone show that to you to begin with, or your
No,
dad
I thought
or
that's how
friend,
you
or-
held a controller.
Really?
Like,
You're just one of the weirdos
pros,
who grabbed a controller, and that's how you saw it.
yeah, a lot of pros, like I know like Scump from Optic, he plays claw, and so I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought that's how normal people did it. And they're like, no, you put your fingers here. I was like, well, how do you hit these buttons? Like, well, you move your thumb. And I was like, that just blew my mind.
Why
like-
would you do that?
But I think playing claw is actually what helped me be better at the game because I naturally played like a way that kind of gives you an advantage. And so I felt that helped me a lot.
Yeah, that's almost like getting the Elite controller before they had the concept of the Elite controller, which was derived basically
exactly.
from people clawing it like you.
Yeah, because I could aim and jump and crouch and switch weapons without ever having to move my thumbs off the sticks, which that's what they had with the paddles. But that's why I never really like got scuff controllers and stuff, is like because I can already do that.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't use the paddles anyway, so I kind of just always stuck with like a normal controller.
Well, us mere mortals need the Elite controllers and Scuff controllers
Yep.
because we can't compete. Do people ever just go get raged when they see you holding the controller like that and then lose to you? And they're like, how? Does it make sense?
Yeah, I remember I was at the football facility playing Fortnite, and some people came in. They're like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, it's how I hold the controller." And they're like, "How does that not, like break your fingers?" And I was like, "I don't know. It feels comfortable to me."
Nice. Which Call of Duties did you used to play?
All of them. So I started with.
Everyone.
Oh yeah, I was the guy, which is kind of cool. I never really had to pay for Call of Duty because I usually went to GameStop and they had like the midnight tournaments, and I won a couple of those.
Oh, cool.
So I had like for 3 years, I got like the highest edition for free, which is pretty
Nice.
cool. But yeah, I was always the guy right at midnight hopping on, and some of like my best friends I met from Call of Duty 4 that I'm still friends with to this day. I literally played with them last night. So I kind of got started with that, and so we'd always hop on, and so you could get like max level first, so you could hit like the best clips and stuff.
Of course, Prestige the fastest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do these people that, well, it sounds like you were always just really good, technically speaking, to be winning all these competitions. That's not an easy feat in itself. Were you always the winner of the competitions? I know a lot of the competitors that we talked to, one of the reasons they knew they could compete is because they always kind of reigned supreme at their local competitions. Is that kind of where you found yourself?
Yeah, the local GameStop stuff was like super easy. Like it wasn't even fair. I remember for the Modern Warfare 3 one, I had watched like so many videos of people who had the game early that I knew every single map before the game came out, like where to go. So I was playing people and they had no idea the map, so I could just like shoot them through the wall because I know where they would be. So yeah, my local stuff it wasn't really a problem.
What was that?
So the local tournaments, I never really had a problem with it. It was pretty easy. And I never really did any like big like MLG tournaments and stuff like that. I'm sure that would be a whole different story if I tried that.
Yeah, do you think that you would find yourself as a more higher level competitor if you had something like a Halo 3 league maybe to start with? Or was it just the evolution of esports at the time that you were playing that kind of led you to your current path? Because, I mean, you're still in college. You very easily could have been a pro.
Yeah, I think if I put more time into Call of Duty, I definitely could have gone to some tournaments and do well. I was more kind of just like the pub stomper more than just like grinding like practices and stuff, which is kind of funny because I've switched over into Overwatch where I'm more competitive than just like going into like open stuff and destroying people. Because that's why like in Call of Duty, I would just go in a match. And I remember Call of Duty had like 1,000 nukes in Modern Warfare 2. Like I would just go and be like, oh, I'm just gonna get a nuke, see how many I can get today. So yeah, I was more of like a pub stomper, then gradually got more into the competitive scene.
So that kind of led you into the Overwatch world that you currently play in right now, right?
Yep.
That's your main game of choice?
That's basically all I play now, that and Fortnite, but it's like 90% Overwatch.
90% Overwatch. Gotta have Fortnite just for those late night streams.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's on Fortnite. Do you? I know that you play a lot, but sometimes you do some content generation, right? Just uploading videos of cool kills that you've made or anything like that. What can you tell me about your experience there?
Yeah, so we actually are doing roster reveal videos for all of our different teams. So we do like little highlights and show everyone off. I do stream Overwatch occasionally, and I definitely like editing like little Overwatch videos, especially since we have so many people in the club now that play Overwatch. We're doing like community generated like clips they send in. We do like little videos, and also we do videos like when we travel. So like we went to MomoCon over the summer, and did a little video of us winning that. So we definitely also have content that's integrated in with Overwatch.
Is the majority of your content being posted to Clemson's feeds at this point because of your involvement, or are you still finding yourself putting a lot of private stuff on Reddit in your personal feeds?
Mostly it's all Clemson stuff. It's actually funny. I'm in a social media marketing class, and we had to do a social media brand audit on ourselves. And I realized, like, wow, everything I do, I just put through Clemson stuff. I was like, I need to start posting stuff on my own because I just kind of like see the like them as one kind of right now.
Yeah.
So most everything I do just goes on our Clemson channels.
I'm the same way. I get lost in the OPC Apex grind, and I forget that your personal brand, or making sure
Yeah.
that you independently grow, is a really significant deal. But
For
how
sure.
do you even keep up with that? You have, like you said, you have so many different videos and so many different avenues already producing content. How do you find the time to actually stream in addition to this? Is it an infrequent thing?
Yeah, I want to stream more. Just right now, I like need a better RAM for my computer because Overwatch is like super RAM hungry. So usually streaming can be kind of a pain. And plus, like every person on the Overwatch team streams right now, so it's like I don't. They're making up the slack for me.
Yeah. Fair.
I do want to get into streaming more. It's just I'm so busy, I don't really have much time to do it. Because like we do scrims and stuff, so like can't really stream that. Don't want to give away stuff, and a lot of times like just talking with friends, and I don't want to stream that kind of stuff.
Fair. Well, can you tell me more about your job as the president of the... Or rather, before we even get to that part, you're the Team A captain for Overwatch for Clemson, aren't you?
Yep, team captain. Then we also have a general manager, and we actually just picked up a coach from Toronto who's going to help us out some.
Nice. What are kind of the differences between the captain and the coach, if you mind explaining?
Yeah, so captain, I'm basically the guy like gets everyone together. I'm good at the game, but I'm not super good at like the overall meta of it. That's why we have coaches come in, because it's really hard if you're, in the game to kind of focus on the big picture when everyone else is doing. So the coach more comes in, do the aerial view, like, okay, you should rotate around here. These are the different team comps you want to do. And then as captain, I'm more of like, the in-game guy who's telling people what to do. We also have all those roles split up too. So it's crazy once you get down to comms. You have like, this guy has to track ults. This person needs to call team switches. We follow this guy's calls. So we have like a whole hierarchy of communications in-game. Because you need to have those, otherwise everyone's just screaming at each other and you're running 5 different directions.
So then you basically are responsible for keeping the team cohesive in the middle of a game, while the coach is more designed to give you that aerial view, to give the finesse that you can't really see because you're actually playing.
Yeah, and then we also have our general manager, Kyle. He's the guy that's making sure people aren't sleeping through games, has us signed up if there's tournaments, making sure we're ready on time. So he's basically the guy that's going to make sure you're up and ready and not missing practice.
Guy that makes it happen.
Yeah.
So how much of the time does being part of the Overwatch Team A take out of your normal semester?
Ooh, so we're just starting up scrims right now. We're probably going to scrim anywhere between 6 to 10 hours a week. And then we do games every Sunday, and those are about 2 to 3 hours. So it's anywhere from like 7 to 15 hours a week, so it can be a lot. And this is just like the off season. Once I get next semester, when it picks up, I'll probably be playing a little bit more. And that's not even including like playing comp and quick play and stuff. So it's a lot of time into Overwatch.
Yeah, that's just raw competition for you, right?
Yeah, that's just straight practice and tournaments.
Wow, how many tournaments do you think all are going to be able to hit in a semester?
So the big one right now is Tespa. That's online. In terms of lands, we have 2 lined up. Maybe going to be a 3rd. So Georgia Tech has something called Game Fest. So we're planning to go on that here in a couple weeks. And then, of course, DreamHack Atlanta. That's like our favorite tournament of the year because we bring so many teams. It's just a huge venue. And we got to play on the main stage last year and everything goes awesome. So that's the one we're looking forward to the most.
Now, is that the one that's in November?
That's, in the middle of November.
Middle of November. Exciting. How many competitions have you actually had a chance to compete in online with Tespa so far?
So through Tespa, I've done it since it was my sophomore year. And they do like 2 a semester. So it's around 6. And they also have like little summer series. And they had like a May snowball tournament. So there's a bunch of little ones. But I've also done a ton of lands as well.
So how many of those online? Because when you broke down the events for the semester for the esports club, you mentioned physical events where you're going to, but those online TESPA competitions are probably the most important for your overall ranking for the school, right?
Yeah, TESPA is pretty important for ranking. Like when we play this semester, depending on how we rank, that goes into seeding for next semester.
Mhm.
But in terms of lands and stuff, that's where we make like the majority of like our prize money and stuff, because
Mhm.
there's not that many good teams near us. So usually we go to an
Mhm.
event, we usually place, top 2
Mhm.
every time, as opposed to, if we're playing online, there's like 700 different teams, so it's a little bit harder to get
Mm.
to those higher ranks.
So you're noting a geographical swings towards your team, but once you're getting within a couple states range, you find other people of equal caliber, basically.
Yeah, once you get over like the Texas and California schools, that's when especially
Mhm.
California schools, that's when it really picks up, and all these scholarship teams that are starting now. Some of these teams are just like stupidly good. It's crazy.
Which teams do you see standing out over in Texas and California?
So UCI, they got second last year, and Berkeley won. And UCI and Berkeley both have a huge infrastructure now, so they're
Mhm.
definitely some of the standout ones. And then Longhorns were pretty good last year. They actually had Overwatch League player, um, Silk Thread, that was on their team for like 2 days, and then he got picked up and transferred to Overwatch League. So that was we were thankful for that because we were gonna have to play them soon. We're like, okay,
Yeah.
we don't have to play Silk Thread anymore. There's some other just schools like that are just like known for esports, like Maryville, their Overwatch team. I think they're like 4,400 average
Well,
for their team, which is crazy. And a lot of their players, playing contenders, so they're going to
Mhm.
be a very good team. They're probably going to win it if I had to guess.
How would you describe your team as far as the breakdown of your average SR in positioning like this? Because I know you still have some top 500 players, right?
Yeah, so our best player right now is Jason, who goes by Cersei in game. He's 4607 SR. He's not in the top 500 ladder right now just because he hasn't done the 50 games.
Mm.
But I think if he would have had his 50 games done, I think he'd be ranked 2 right now. I think like Spacer Sinatra is the only person who's beating him in SR, which is just crazy. And
Yeah.
in terms of like the team SR, around like 4100 average. We actually calculated all of our peak SRs and averaged it, and it was like 4340, which is kind of crazy
Nice.
if you do
Well,
all that. But a lot of guys are just getting back into it. So one of our players was already gone for a year and just picked it back up. So we're glad to have him back on board.
Do you find yourself calculating peak SR over actual SR more frequently because of your school schedule and there's just only limited amount of focus that can be attached?
Yeah, we definitely use both, but peak SR is good to show our potential. We use current SR a lot just because since like meta changes and new heroes and stuff, that if someone's been gone for a while, they may not know it too much.
Mhm.
But once we get like back into the grind, it usually doesn't take us that long to get our average SR, a lot higher.
Yeah. What's your SR?
So my peak SR is around 4100, and I'm sitting like mid masters right now, just because I've had some unlucky games recently. But I have like 3 different accounts, all in masters for each different role. And I've almost hit Grandmaster on like every single role in the game. So I'm pretty much like a flex player.
Wow. How many hours do you think you have played across all your accounts so far on Overwatch?
Oh gosh. I know if you add up all the levels on my account, it's around like 900 levels. So it's probably like 1500 hours around there.
I was gonna say I'm like 130 and I'm sitting at about 160 hours. Lots of quick play, but
Yeah, it's a lot. That's not even taking into account that when I used to do scrims in the past, you didn't get XP and level up. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of that in the past that didn't even count towards the hours. But yeah, it's up there. And I've been playing, since the beta. So I've been playing for 2-3 years now.
Well, I'm sure you already have all of your golden guns and all that stuff. What are
Oh,
your
yeah.
what are your goals in game? Is there anything that like has been losing you? Like I know, just a random question. Is there like that one loot box that you just haven't got yet? That one skin that you just haven't managed to find?
I want to get top 500. That's my goal, just to get top 500 one season. It's getting really hard now. The SR is going up. I've only ever hit top 100 in like 6v6 competitive, like some random game mode.
Yeah.
But definitely want to get top 500 and kind of be stable around Grandmaster. That's
Yeah.
definitely my goal.
That's a huge goal for any player, even somebody who's just sitting at home playing all day, every day, and that's their focus. Not in addition to being the team A being on the Team A, being the captain of Team A, you're also the president of the Clemson Esports Club, correct?
Yep.
How did you get involved with that? How did you become the president?
Yeah, so my freshman year, we have a thing called Tiger Prow, which basically have all the clubs out there, and it was on Bowman Field. It's like our giant field. So I was walking around the clubs, and I saw like a big Counter-Strike logo on some poster, So I went up and I was like, oh, y'all play Counter-Strike? He's like, yeah, we have a couple different teams. We have like a league team trying to get Counter-Strike. And the club was like super small at the time. I remember I went to the first meeting and it was like 10 people. And we tried to get like a Counter-Strike team going. Like we barely had enough people. So my freshman year, I wasn't super involved just because the club was so small. But then elections were coming up. So I was like, oh, I'm going to get involved. So I actually ran for vice president. Ended up getting that. So I was vice president for a year. And then this is my second year becoming president. And since that time, the club has exploded. Like, it's crazy. We went from having one team, we have like 16 different teams right now, with like over 100 different players. We have like 16 general managers for our games. Like, we have so many people, we have to manage the managers. But it's awesome to see it grow so much.
How are you keeping up with this explosive growth? As a student, you're not born with the managerial skills to handle a club of that size. Have you been getting outside help? Are there people that are stepping up for it? Or are you really just learning it all yourself as you go?
I've been kind of learning it as I go. I'm friends with a lot of different clubs, so I kind of talk to them, see how they structure it. But yeah, we've definitely brought on a lot more people because before it was I was kind of running all the teams like, oh, I have to do Overwatch tryouts, no league, I need someone to help with leagues. There's more of, in the past, it's like, hey, who can help with this? But this year we have like set roles, so we have like, general managers, competitive head, community head. We have all these different roles with their own, job titles and descriptions, so it kind of helps distribute the load everywhere. We actually have a meeting like in a couple hours where we're going over the whole semester just because we have so many people now. Like, it's crazy. Our staff meetings now are like twice as big as our old like general body meetings. Which is, yeah, it's scaling up like crazy.
What do you attest to the explosive growth of your esports club? Is it your team's performance? Is it the popularity of esports in whole, or what do you think's causing it?
Definitely there's been more support in esports, especially college esports. Because when we were starting out, like my freshman year, there wasn't like any college tournaments. Like Tespa was like just starting. There wasn't really much to play in. But now like Tespa, CSL, AVGL, there's so many tournaments that these guys can compete in. I think it's also kind of snowballed. Like we get people in a club and they tell their friend, they tell a friend. So it's like more and more people keep on joining and keep finding it. And especially since we get more exposure and do more events, that where people end up joining the club.
Well, since it sounds like events are the number one location to get earnings so you can keep the club going, and they seem to be the number one location though you're finding new members, it sounds like events themselves, beyond the TESPA rankings and how you stack up against people outside of your region, that those events are the most important. Which ones do you think, or rather, to those who don't know, what are the biggest events, and tell me a little bit about them?
Yeah, so the biggest one we're looking forward to is DreamHack Atlanta. So that's about mid-November, and we're probably going to take around 40 players.
40.
So yeah, it's going to be, so I'm so excited for us to walk in, 40 people, all like jerseys and jackets, get ready to go. So that's definitely the biggest one because there's a lot of local teams, around the Atlanta area and around us. So it's good to see them in person. And it's also cool to like meet people you've been playing with online all the time. And since I've gone to like 30 of these events now, it's great to see some friends there. So that's the one that we definitely look forward to the most. Then there's like Game Fest that Georgia Tech does, Athens Online that UGA does, and we also do MomoCon, which is during the summer.
So it sounds like the ones that you just referenced. Are you hitting all of the events then?
We're trying to go to as many as we can. Luckily, Overwatch team goes to a lot of them just because Overwatch is so popular that almost every one of these events has an Overwatch tournament. So we try to go to as many as we can. Even Griffin and I have gone to, play some stuff out in LA, which is pretty cool. Play tournaments out there, which was awesome.
Amazing. I know you've been with Tespa, but you said since your sophomore year. Have you, or was that correct, for about 3 or 4 years you've been playing in the Tespa
this will be
circuits?
my third year playing in the Tespa
third
season.
year. How have you seen it grow over the last couple of years? And actually, before even that, can you explain a little bit about Tespa, maybe to those people who aren't familiar?
Yeah, so basically Tespa is basically like a big collegiate esports like tournament bracket. So they have tons of different games. It's mostly Blizzard right now, so it's like all the Blizzard games. They just added in Rocket League. So it's basically a way for universities to play universities all around the country and Canada. So that's mostly where we do our tournaments. And they also like help with event support. So we have events. They'll send us a bunch of stuff out there. And it's kind of like, right now it's like the body for college esports. So it's pretty awesome.
So wasn't it originally picked up by a set of brothers, the Rosin brothers, and they got so successful at organizing these events that it got picked up by Blizzard Actual? Is that the right story?
Yeah, they started it. and they were getting so big, and they were taking viewership away from some of these big streams, and they were doing tournaments and stuff, and they're like, why can't all these other colleges, have esports programs this big?
Mhm.
So they started up Tespa to help
Mhm.
all these colleges grow their esports scene.
That's probably going to be the single most important organization to be created in esports for the next half a decade or so. I've talked with a lot of different people about the issues in college esports, and I look forward to hearing your opinion. But one of the main ones was lack of structure.
For sure.
And 3 years ago, that was really a light in the darkness. I know today you're doing so much better, but it sounds like greatly it's because of the the growth of Overwatch's fandom in college as a result of Tespa's organizational structure getting these events out. Is that about right?
Yeah, so it's the structure in the past it was like non-existent, but
Yeah.
now as more and more tournaments are happening and more scholarship programs are happening, it's crazy to see the structure. Trying to get it here at Clemson, get a more like defined structure, but people are definitely putting it in place, and it's crazy how far it's come in the past couple years.
Yeah, what can you tell me about your school's structure, and maybe a little bit about the types of structure that you see your competing schools do, and maybe a little bit about why you choose the one that you've chosen?
Yeah, so definitely at the top level, it's the schools that have like varsity esports status. So the people that have like, paid coaches, dedicated esports spaces. So they're like the tier 1. And the tier 2 would be kind of like Clemson, where we don't have that much university support, but we just have so many people, like student activity, that's kind of student run. We have everything going. And since like one of the larger clubs, we're trying to, show that to the university, be like, okay, hey, we need a little bit of help here. We're kind of, growing out so much that we need a little bit of room to help us out. Yeah, but definitely just how it's grown so much in the past, just getting university support is just going to come with time. And it's crazy to see, like every time I pull up my Twitter feed, I see something like introducing the new varsity esports team at blah, blah, blah college university. So it's just a matter of time before like every school has an esports program.
Yeah, we partner with a group called Ashland University, and they just released some videos of their new LAN center, and it's amazing the amount of hardware that they've put inside of there. The glow just from the RGB load is amazing. Like I know you yourself are working on something like that, right?
Yeah, we're definitely trying to get a dedicated space. We've talked with the guys over at the Digital Production Arts studios here at Clemson. And we went and talked with them talking about esports. They had like no idea it was this big. They're like, why aren't we doing this? So we're definitely trying to push that. We've met with athletic directors as well. Their just thing is the biggest thing right now is they don't know like where it fits in with sports. Like, is it NCAA? Like, what are the rules with it? That seems to be like the biggest factor for some of these big schools who are kind of iffy. It's weird. It's like the opposite of other sports, as in smaller schools have better infrastructure than larger schools, which is kind of crazy.
Really? Do you think that's just the adaptability of smaller schools and their desire to pick up new traffic maybe quicker?
Yeah, it's with smaller schools. It's like, oh, this is something we can use to stand out and push enrollment. And Clemson's like, we don't need to worry about enrollment. We have too many people enrolling as it is. So for these other schools, it's kind of like a little thing like to show off and a differentiating factor to show how they're different. But for larger schools, they're kind of want to take it a little bit slower. They've been doing this a little bit longer, so they're not super eager to jump into stuff if they don't have to.
It probably comes down a little bit to the formal structure built around Clemson football, I imagine, too. As someone who's known to be was one of the excellent teams in football or college football, there's a lot of pressure, I imagine, to do esports correctly as well. Do you see that factoring in? Is there some sort of nerves within the upper brass that they have to pick the right format the first time? They're just kind of waiting to see where the chips fall, maybe? Or how do you feel that they're developing?
Clemson Athletics definitely takes all their sports super seriously. Like, if you look at our social media presence, like, I think we're, like, rank 1 or 2 for, like, social media in college sports. Like, the social media that we have is just crazy. Like, I think the football Twitter account's almost at 1 million followers now, which is just crazy that a college football team has, like, 1 million followers. And I've gone to, like, our social media listening center and seen what the social media teams do during games, and it's wild. Like,
what can you tell me
seeing them
about
work. Yeah, so I used to work for the football team, so I was like throwing in the plays during the game, and right next door to us was the social media team, and they're in a room with like 20 monitors, and they have graphics ready to go, and they're looking at what's trending and what to post, and oh, it's third quarter, these people are most engaged, post this, and they have it down to a science. It's crazy
Wow.
because they're pushing stuff on like 10 different platforms, in real time,
Mhm.
and it's just crazy how they do it.
So they're picking up trending topics as they shift within the game, not just as like a daily macro kind of, these are the things we talk about. It changes to
Oh
the
yeah,
minute.
they're getting stuff up like within the second.
Wow.
And then the social media learning center, it basically looks at like thousands of social media sites,
Mm.
and they have companies come in to come use it because they're like, oh, I wonder what people are saying on social media about us.
Mm.
And they can like see trends happening before like anyone else can. So that's like a whole state of the art system they have on there, which is awesome.
How do they not notice yet that esports is the largest growing trend on socials, especially in Twitter?
I'm trying to teach them. I was saying earlier I was in my social media marketing class, and I actually went to
Yeah.
my professor and I was like, hey, I think these guys need to know about esports. Can I do a presentation?
Mm.
So she actually let me present for about 15-20 minutes in class. And you
Cool.
could tell some of the people were kind of blown away because I had an awesome graphic up there and it said social media engagements for like the top athletes,
Uh-huh.
and it had Ninja in there, and Ninja just destroyed everyone, like Ronaldo, LeBron,
Mm-hmm.
Shaq, not even close.
Mm-hmm.
Ninja was like double everyone.
Well, you had the
It was just
fortunate
insane.
ability to pick him right when he was getting on the cover of ESPN magazine. I think
I know. I wish I would have done it and be like, hey, and by the way, he's the front cover of ESPN.
Yeah,
I
they
wish
just
that would
hold it
happen.
up like that, right? That'd be so
What
cool.
was also really cool is when we were meeting with the athletic directors, we were talking
Mhm.
about Overwatch League, and as soon
Mhm.
as the meeting ended, I got a notification that ESPN picked up Overwatch League for the finals.
Yeah.
So I ran back down the hallway to the office like, hey, by the way, the Overwatch thing we were talking about, it's gonna be on ESPN.
Updates. Yeah. That's a
And they're
huge
like,
deal.
yeah, and I was like, it's happening all the time. These gotta keep an eye out for it.
Mm-hmm. That's so amazing that you're finding yourself at the forefront of educating these colleges about this huge growing trend, and are even the one in the room lobbying for its growth. What do you find to be the biggest hindrance for you in doing this and getting this kind of picked up by the university?
Yeah, I think people, if they haven't heard about esports, they're just like, why do people want to watch people play video games?
Mm-hmm.
Which are, for esports fans, it makes no sense because, like, well, you're watching a guy throw a ball around. Like, I don't understand why it's so different than watching a guy, play video games.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest hurdle is them not understanding that people actually watch it. But once you start showing them the numbers and how big it is, that's when you can, like, really see their eyes start to open up.
Mhm.
But also, their biggest thing right now is it's not like any other sport where you're going to go play in high school and play a couple years or 4 years in college, then go pro. It's like you can go pro when you're 15. I remember there's a guy in the World Cup, I think he was 14 for Thailand, it was like destroying people, and he could go pro like today if he wanted to. So it's definitely a whole different, like flow through the system. So I think that's kind of where they're tricked up. And then also, it's very different how we can just go for a weekend and play in a tournament for money, and you can't really do that for any other sport. So that's kind of a big difference between it.
Well, that also comes down to your club structure, correct? Like, if you actually do club official, just like college football is done, then you are not going to be able to take winnings. It's going to go straight to the school, which
Exactly.
may not matter because then they'll be putting money behind you and you'll have a real club. But is that part of your concern at all? You said it was a benefit, but...
So it can go both ways, because I know NCAA is super picky about some of this stuff. Like, I remember reading a story, a guy was making, like, it was a kicker or something, he was making YouTube videos, and they kicked him off the team just for doing YouTube stuff. It's like,
Whoa.
I don't know if that means, like, could we stream? Like, is Twitch be allowed? Because I know, like, a lot of our guys are affiliated on Twitch, so I don't know if they can stream anymore. So I feel like doing that would, like, deter a lot of people from going into the scene. And since it's so easy to do other tournaments, I'd be like, I kind of don't want to only play in, a college tournament happens, once a year when there's, 30 things happening on the weekend that I can play at any given time.
And when you have large players like Siegel dipping out of Dallas Fuel because he wants to just stream full time, how do you make the decision to maintain and not to maintain, but to maintain the competition side when your stream is significant? I can see you losing a lot of those potential younger talents that are growing that have yet to hit the college tiers.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely deter a lot of good players to want to go play college because their biggest thing is they need to brand themselves. They want to, like, go pro, which they couldn't do any of that. They couldn't stream. They couldn't do YouTube, barely do, like, Twitter and stuff. So they're like, okay, why would I want to play then? If I can't do anything, they'd probably just, go to college and stream and play on their own. Yeah, if they had all those restrictions, that's definitely something that I think could, hinder it
Mhm. It'll be really interesting to see how that develops a little bit further. Do you know of any college specifically that has picked up a club sport similar to a formal structure like football?
Yeah, so there's a lot of universities that have, whole varsity programs now.
Mm-hmm.
Dedicated spaces. They have buses for them to travel on. So that's kind of like my end goal, which I really want here.
Buses,
Because it's just crazy for me, like going to, work a football practice
mm-hmm.
and see the infrastructure there, and then be like, hey, can we just get like 6 computers? When I'm going to work, scanning in with biometrics and going down slides and stuff, it's like, can you just like throw us a couple bucks, please? Like all we need is some computers and some mouses. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, that sounds like a way more than reasonable request, considering you see other colleges already picking up and Clemson being left behind.
Exactly.
I'd assume that their FOMO would be having them jump on it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to push towards them. It's just people with like in some of these positions have never even heard of it, so it's just a huge education point at this point. 'Cause it's great to see like some of the sports we have here, not like hating on other ones, but like rowing. They have like a whole rowing building and all this stuff, and I was like, how big really is rowing? Like,
Exactly.
it's great that we have it, but like they're not pulling the numbers that esports has, and don't see rowing growing that big in the future. Like esports is growing insane year over year.
So I hear you saying a lot that education seems to be the biggest hurdle for the adoption of esports at colleges. What are you using for your major educational materials in order to help teach your professors and the administration that this is valuable? Are you making it yourself, or is there somewhere like NACE who's kind of supporting you?
So I've made a lot of internal decks that basically, teach people about esports and what we need at Clemson and what other colleges are doing. So that's what we usually use. Show different universities, and I also work with a lot of other college esports clubs because they have their own presentations. So we have like a big Google Drive folder with like 50 different colleges that we kind of share all of our decks to kind of show the university and educate them on it. Because once you show them the numbers, like I was saying, it kind of blows them away. They're like, wow, how do we not know about this?
Is there anything forward-facing that an aspiring college or maybe somebody who's a member of an esports club at a college that's yet to adopt it to this tier? Is there some sort of reference or resource they could go to kind of get what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think UCI has all of theirs public.
Oh, really? Okay. Is basically
I'm pretty
everything else
sure.
just a copy of UCI's format then?
Not necessarily. UCI definitely was one of the biggest, but I've seen tons of different versions. I think UCI is trying to be that force to help people out, so they've made theirs public. But just from talking with other people, I've had their versions, but those are not forward facing. I don't want to send something like, oh, why'd you send that?
Yeah.
But yeah, as time goes on, I think more people are gonna release that and start helping out these smaller schools because as more schools get in, it just helps everyone out, honestly.
Indeed. Yeah. There's so much you've got going on with the esports club, from being part of the team to competing, but it sounds with the informal structure that there isn't. And I mean, you're winning, but because it's so informal, are all of your winnings going to support the club, or do any of the players actually get earnings from this?
Yeah, so the way we do money in the club is we have club dues. So if you're on any team in the club, you have to pay club dues, and then any other members you want to pay can as well. So that's kind of how we finance everything. So in terms of like prizing and tournaments, the players keep that. And we've been doing club dues and stuff like that. And Clemson also gives us some support. We can go through student government funding, and as long as we put up like X%, they'll cover the other percent. So we've been doing pretty well on that front. It just can be frustrating at times where they don't want to support us. Like I remember I was telling you about our jersey scenario, how they wouldn't help us pay for the jerseys unless we handed them down each year. And I was trying to tell them like, hey, they're custom jerseys. They have to have our name, like our in-game name on it. Like, oh, we can't help you then. And I was just like, come on. Like we've done all this work. We have all these different players. So some of that can be kind of frustrating, but for the most part, it's worked out.
I can see that cost inflating significantly over the years, but the college players have their names in the back of their shirts, right?
They do, yeah.
I mean the college football players, yeah. So, and other teams do the same tag. It would be breaking the trends to do it without a name, correct?
Yeah, I think in their minds like, oh, just throw a number on it, and this person will be number 4 this year. But I was like, no one does that in esports. This is not how it works. It's not, like club soccer or something where you can do that. Yeah.
So you said there was a students panel or something where you could get funding for student organizations. They would they would match your donations. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so it's the student government funding board.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, as long as the club, I think it's if we put up 35%, they can cover the other percent of expenses. But you have to go in front of a whole panel. You kind of like have to pitch it to them. Like, here's why you should give us money to go play video games. Because when you start out, it can be a hard sell, but once you show it to them, they get really involved with it. And of course, there's like some restrictions, but so the way it works is like tuition is like every student puts like $50 into the fund at the start of the year. So I think they give away like I think this year it's around 4 million to student government and student clubs.
Interesting. How many times have you found yourself lobbying against this club?
So in the past we used to not go that often because all of our like expenses is basically buying pizza. Because before, if we travel to events, it's kind of on the players and everything. But this year, we're definitely gonna be going. They're gonna get sick of us because they're gonna be showing up so much, asking for money.
Nice.
So I was like, hey, we've raised a lot on our end, so if y'all can help us out.
Well, hopefully you will have raised so much 35% wise that 65% will become so obscene that they'll just push you off to the more official channels.
That's the plan. Yeah, we have a pretty good bank right now, but once you start adding this stuff up, it's like, oh man, this isn't enough. You're like, okay, I gotta buy jerseys from everyone, get hotels for everyone, and get a bus. And you're like, and there's our money.
So are you reaching out to sponsors for the club? Are you allowed to do that? I know that we've had the fortunate opportunity to help you get some jerseys, but is this a normal thing that you guys do? Or is that just because of our relationship with Clemson?
Yeah, so it's weird. Some universities are super strict. Like, some can't even take club funds. So I don't even know how they survive. But I remember I talked with them last year. I was like, hey, we have some sponsors. Want to help us out? Like, yeah, your club. You can do whatever you want. Sign anything you want. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that was easy. So Clemson's, like, very relaxed on that end. So, yeah, we can basically do whatever we want on our end, which is pretty nice. Because, a lot of clubs, that's a huge hindrance for them. And they can't, expand and grow.
Well, I'm sure there are a lot of organizations who would love to sponsor a group like the Clemson Esports Club. Is there an opportunity for them to reach out to you to be able to do this? Is this a formal thing that you've done yet, or is it still in development, kind of?
Oh, yeah, so we're always looking for sponsor help for stuff. We've had a lot of people come on board and help us. Best way is just to, reach out to us on, like, social media, especially Twitter. Like, we have a lot of companies that come and just send us a DM, and that's just super easy. And then we also have our club email on there, so I'm usually the guys checking our club email all the time, sending out messages. And the best way we've gone just going to events and talking with people, because they'll come up and we're usually like one of the only teams there that has like 30 people all in jerseys, like, oh, I want to work with this team. So just going to events and making connections has been probably the best help.
You guys are going to make a lot of good connections at DreamHack then, walking there in all of your orange and white. It's going to look pretty good.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. We're really good friends with the DreamHack guys now. It was funny, we were at MomoCon and DreamHack had like a open booth there, and Stanley actually forgot his backpack, so he had no keyboard, no mouse, no headset, no mouse pad, nothing, and we had games like 20 minutes. And luckily I was friends with the DreamHack guys. I was like, do you have any extra like peripherals? I need some help here. And he's like, yeah, come on. So he like gave Stanley like a huge bundle of stuff just to use for the event. So I was like, just having connections like that helps so much.
That's very lucky that you're so well connected. For those people who don't know, Stanley is another Clemson player who does 3D modeling for us on some various projects. Does a great job. You can actually find him in the assembly video that we're going to have coming out here in a couple days. I saw the first render of it a couple days ago. I don't know if he's shown it to you yet, Bobby, but it's awesome. Have you seen it?
I don't think I've seen it yet.
It's so cool.
I'll have to ask him for it. Yeah, he's been super busy. He hasn't been playing much because he's like, I'm doing modeling work in school. And I was like, he's like, okay. He's like, once I get done with this, I'm grinding Overwatch though.
Yeah, I know he's got to be itching. He told me he was restructuring some of the way he was going about doing it and going more full-time on it for beyond just contracts like me. So he's crushing it. We love the work
it's
he's
crazy
doing.
that he just started this. I don't think it's been a year since he even learned how to do this.
Stanley
Stanley is just he gets his mind to something and he just goes off. Like, it's funny when we go to tournaments, he gets so hyper focused that like he won't leave his computer.
Really?
Like, we have to like pry him out, like, Stanley, we're going to dinner, you need to eat. He's like, no, I'm practicing. I was like, okay, I'll bring you something back.
Man,
he
gets
gets like,
focused.
we call it like his land coma.
His land coma.
Yeah, he literally turns into a different person when he gets to land, just super concentrates.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not gonna tell the guy to stop practicing. So.
Yeah, that's a real competitor. He's in it, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
That's so cool. So your involvement, well, we just talked a little bit about how the club kind of gets funding and its different positioning as it's growing, and a little bit kind of roughly touching on how some of the players take the earnings. If you don't mind discussing a little bit, at least in generalities, you're very involved in these programs in a way that I know some people really aspire to be. To be the president of an organization like that at a school like yours is pretty respectable. How do you actually manage to do it? Are you, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, are you a full ride scholarship recipient? It seems like you would be. Or do they pay you enough through earnings where you're able to kind of just make it happen yourself? Or kind of how does that break down for you?
I don't get anything.
No?
I wish Clemson paid me, but no, I just do this because I love to do it.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw a need for the club, and I want to go into esports when I graduate. So it's just a passion of mine that I wanted to put into it. I have made some money playing from tournaments and stuff, but like a lot of stuff I've won prizes, and I just give it out to the club because like I don't need another headset, and I don't want to sell it on eBay. I'll just have it as a prize or something.
But even so, that's like your only earnings you're getting, and you're still just giving it back.
Basically, yeah.
Wow. So your resume then, I guess, is the real gold here, because it's a mile long at this point.
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm looking more towards too, is like just showing all this, esports work I've done, college pro scene, Opseat scene. I've gone through a lot of different iterations, even regular sports scene. So
Let's talk a little bit about that. Before you came to OPC, which we'll talk about in just a second, but we actually discovered you in a kind of inadvertent way. It was your work with Echo Fox. What can you tell me a little bit about how that began for you?
Yeah, so my parents were like, oh, you should look to get an internship. And I had done one before, like in Columbia, South Carolina, where I'm from. I was like, oh, I can't do anything esports here. So I was like, let me just email some companies and see what there is. So emailed some. Echo Fox reached out to me. He's like, hey, if you want to come this summer, we can make a spot for you, but you're going to have to move out here. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. My parents were like, wait, you're just going to move to California on your own for a summer? And I was like, yeah.
For esports. Duh.
Yeah, why not? So I had gone to California before, but I've never lived anywhere besides South Carolina. And Clemson's like 2 hours from my house, so it's not a crazy move for, living by myself at Clemson. But yeah, I got there, like, never really used public transportation before, so I had to figure out bus routes, had to figure out basically everything. But yeah, so I lived in West Hollywood. It's pretty cool. I could walk out my door and see the Hollywood sign every morning.
Cool.
And then, yeah, it was just an awesome experience because that was the first time I actually got to work with like pro players in person. So like the league team my office was right next to their scrim room. So like these like a KD and Frog and like all these pros are walking by me every day, which at first you're kind of freaking out, but then later on you just like you get null to it.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh yeah, they're shrugging. Yeah, I know.
What was that process for you like though? Were you just kind of like running in, interning, walking past all the pros, trying not to disrupt everything, or were you the guy who was in the lunchroom being like, "Yo, I love your work"? Like, how did it happen for you?
I was more the laid-back type because I wasn't super big into League of Legends, which I think was actually an advantage. I didn't like fanboy out so much.
Yeah.
But another intern was a huge League fan, so he was the one like any second he was talking to him. But when we had some of our Call of Duty guys, I was more excited for them. But yeah, we definitely were on a pretty friendly basis because we were working with him all the time. It was pretty cool to like be friends with Rick Fox, have him right down in the office, which is pretty cool.
What's he like?
Oh, he's super genuine. He's hilarious. So he's a huge H1Z1 player. And so he would win, and he would let everyone in the office know that he just won a game. Like he would run down the hall and like scream that he won, and he'd post it in like the internal group chat and everything.
You were telling me a story once that he doesn't only even do that when he wins, but when the team wins as well, right? He's always super amped for the victory.
Yeah, he gets into it. When you see some of these like celebrities, like, oh, they're a celebrity that have an esports team, they probably like don't even play games. But like, no, Rick is super into it. Like we had Foxconn, we had all the players out there, and he was like the tournament admin for like our in-house stuff, and he was taking it super seriously. Like he had the bracket up there, he was on the mic, he was like, Jay Wong, you got to come up, you're playing Street Fighter. Like he was running the whole tournament, and it was hilarious. He got super into it.
Very cool.
Oh yeah, when we had tournaments on, he gets super hyped. It's just so fun to watch.
what were the tasks, or what did you do for Echo Fox while you were there for the summer?
So I started off doing like a lot of graphic design and social media stuff. So
Mhm.
basically like anything you saw on the Twitter account for that summer, like I worked with. And we had Foxconn. I helped a lot with that. So my first one was, hey, here's our like 80 flights. Make sure they're right, and then like update all of the information in a spreadsheet, and then print it out, and then put everyone's hotel information and then their media obligations. There was a ton of stuff. Which actually, I caught an error in one of our flights. I was like, hey, we have a guy coming in from the Czech Republic, and then he leaves 3 minutes after he lands. In LA. And he was like, oh, okay. I was like, also his flight's $3,000, and I don't think that's right. He came back, he was like, oh yeah, thanks for that. His flight was only 500 once I changed it. So luckily I caught that. But
So you're
and
doing
then-
a lot of office management stuff, not just graphic work, just kind of making the team run, making sure they get where they need to be, like a GM would.
oh yeah, a lot of that. And then especially when Foxconn was a lot of like hands-on stuff, like oh we have all these players coming in. Like when they're coming to the hotel, like I sat in the hotel for like the whole day and made sure everyone checked in and knew what they were doing. Made sure everyone got there on time, and then one day, oh gosh, this took forever. We had to make goodie bags for everyone,
Mhm.
and each thing had like 50 items. So I was like, oh, I have to check which jersey this is and match this jersey to this custom bag, then put one of each of these 50 things in the bag. I was like, felt like I was an assembly line worker for a couple of days there. We were going a little bit stir crazy, but it was pretty cool to handle stuff. So it's crazy to see like some of these Echo Fox players win big tournaments. Like, oh hey, Sonic Fox won Evo. Like I'm the guy who handed him his jersey at Foxconn. Like it's just crazy to think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you've become an integral part of even his story. I'm sure he remembers receiving that jersey the first time.
Yeah, and we went to Six Flags, and I told him like, hey guys, it's gonna be hot. Like it's literally gonna be 110 degrees. You know, wear shorts. Then Sonic Fox comes out in his black jeans. I'm like, Sonic, like you're gonna die. And then he had to go home in an Uber because he was like dying. It was so hot.
Yeah, I can imagine. Whoops. Faux That's awesome that you were kind of just their, I don't know, bigger sister, dad, father, caretaker. What would you, like, was there a title that you had, or you just made sure that they were taken care of and whenever tasks were available?
Yeah, just making sure they were taken care of and got to the right places on time.
Nice, but you also did some video work, right? I remember one of the reasons that the reasons we worked together was because of your experience doing some video.
Yeah, so
with
once
Echo Fox.
Foxconn died down, that's when we did a lot more video stuff because LCS season was kind of ending and we didn't really have much to do, so we went way towards video. It's actually kind of mad because I did a whole series with Froggen called like I think we called it like Froggen Roaming the Rift or whatever. So we sat him down, he went through like a lot of different gameplay and stuff. And then we sent it to our coaches because we have to make sure he's not like leaking anything. Like, oh yeah, you can't use any of this. He gives away too much stuff. And I was just like, come on. Like, we made all these videos, but I did like highlight videos for when our different teams were playing. And then we also helped. I helped do a podcast with them. It's called The Fox Den. So it's kind of cool because like, oh yeah, Rick's on the podcast. Like, write us like 50 questions to ask Rick. So that was kind of cool. And then we'd have different teams come on, so I'd help set up the live stream, edit their videos, and do all the questions. Kind of similar to a podcast we're doing like right now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to still see that they're doing that. I think they ended up changing the name, which I like the name I came up with, but they changed it.
Foxden, is that what it was called?
Yeah, it was the Fox Inn. I forgot what they changed it to. I think it's like Foxtails now.
Yeah, so that story right there is what blew my mind. And when we first came across you, it's so people know that I'm not just making this up. Like, how did you first kind of hear about Opseat and the opportunities for an internship with us?
Oh god, when did I first hear about y'all? It's been so long now.
It was beginning of summer. I think I roughly remember. I don't necessarily know how it played off on your side, but there was one of the administrators in your program when we were discussing the esports program, since one of our owners is a grad from Clemson. We were discussing a little bit about what's going to take to sponsor, to get the arenas going, just, various alma mater interest. And throughout the process, we got an email that said, hey, we got this really bright guy. He's the president of the Esports Club, and he's looking for a summer internship. Do you think you guys have an opening maybe? And we said, absolutely, let's go talk to this guy. And you were the person they sent our way.
Awesome.
But what's really funny about that is in the process, and the reason that we said yes, send them our way, is because at the time we have been doing online research as well, and we've been looking to get into our own podcast like what you're on right now. And at the period of time, we found one video that we wanted to emulate the most. What we thought of was the perfect example of something that we wanted to create. And lo and behold, it was the Foxton from it was the Rick Fox episode. And so when we were talking to you, and I found out that not only like when I showed you that video and you just started laughing and you had the resources back on your drive, I absolutely lost it. I couldn't believe that you had been so integrated already that you were already inspiring us to even hire you.
Yeah, it was crazy being around Rick because he's always doing media stuff. Like, remember we had like an after party, and I'm sitting there, and then a camera crew comes out of nowhere and starts recording Rick. And then what's really cool is Jace Hall has like the Jace Hall show, and so they had an episode about Foxconn. They're like, okay, let's put Rick in the crowd. They sit Rick right next to me. So Rick is sitting me like in the episode that calls out Jace Hall, and we're supposed to like laughing and stuff. I'm like, I'm right next to Rick the whole episode, which was just crazy.
You just trying to keep your cool, like camera's definitely on me right now. What do I?
Yeah, I was like, great, I'm gonna be in the shot. I have to nail this part.
Yeah, it's like, don't pick your nose. Oh my god, don't cough weird. Oh, that's amazing. So, how did you end up parlaying that though into your day to day? Because I know you still do a lot of video and stuff. Was that the first time that you really did the video? Did they train that to you at that position, or were you already kind of experienced doing your various clips and stuff online and practice by that point?
Yeah, I've been doing video editing ever since I got into Call of Duty 4. All my friends who made like montages and stuff using like Sony Vegas back in the day. So I've always been super interested in doing video editing. And then I had an internship before that where I did like little local commercials and stuff. So I did like one for like an auto glass dealer. I had to do one for a hair salon. Oh my gosh.
Really?
I knew nothing about hair, so I was like, I don't know what to record. So I was going around like, this looks cool. I don't know what I was doing, but that was like, oh god, 4 years ago when I was doing that.
Wow.
So yeah, I've just always been super into filming and editing.
Yeah, you've been super entrepreneurial. That was a contractor business. Like, that's service businesses are the first way a lot of us even get into the owning a company style. You just get more contracts and stack it, and you chose to go a different path. Even the way that you lobby against the club to be able to get more money for the 35-65 breakdown from the student body, that's a similar entrepreneurial. You're pitching VCs basically at that point. And in going up the administrative, that's going against the city council for legislative rights to do stuff, you know? Like, you're basically lobbying inside of these organizations like an entrepreneur would, trying to make change. It's really kind of impressive that you're doing it all and you're not quite getting paid for it, but your resume is becoming rather impressive. And with that...
Hopefully Clemson will pay me one day.
Yeah, I don't even know
Hire me, Clemson, please.
Yeah, hire you. That's all right. They shouldn't let you go. Unfortunately, I had to let you go a little bit soon too, and we enjoyed our time together. It's been fun hanging out and talking with you. But you got a really great opportunity at the end of the summer, which was amazing. What can you tell us about your time at the Blizzard retreat in August?
Yeah, so it's super awesome. Tespa and Blizzard every year, they do a retreat where they take basically the top, esports college presidents, and you don't have to exactly be a president of the club, but a high member in the club. It only took, I think it was 24 this year, and that was including Canada and Korea in that 24.
Wow.
So luckily I applied, I got in, so I got to go out to their headquarters out in California, meet so many awesome people. It's crazy to see people doing the same stuff you're doing, because like before I'm always having to like educate people about esports, and here I'm at Blizzard and they have everyone knows exactly what I'm talking about and has experience in it, so that was just amazing. We got to tour around the campus, see the offices, like Jeff Kaplan walked by, waved to him and all that. That was like my goal, is like, I got to see Jeff. But it was crazy, like I'm sitting in like the dining hall at Blizzard, and I look down, like little like place card things they have on the table. It's like a picture of Jeff. There's like, tweet about your Blizzard experience, and then there's like a giant Tracer statue. And all the TVs, they're not like cable news. It's Twitch streams. They have Twitch streams on while you're eating. So it was such a cool experience, getting to meet everyone. They brought in guest speakers as well. Just a great time to meet everyone and just learn.
Who'd you get to hear from as far as the guest speakers?
So what was pretty cool, we actually had, I don't know if you're familiar with Day 9.
Not too much.
So he was basically like one of the first like live streamers ever.
Okay.
So he kind of started like esports live streaming. So we actually had his mom come talk to us. She didn't say, it's like, I'm Day 9's mom, but 30 minutes in, people started to catch on, and she was like probably the best speaker there. We were all like drawn it. She was such a good speaker. Probably because she was like a Harvard teacher at point, so she knows how to like get a group's attention. She's like, oh yeah, so if you haven't caught on, I'm actually Day 9's mom. So a lot of people got, were freaking out like, oh my gosh, like I'm a huge Day 9 fan. But yeah, there's a lot of cool people that we got to listen to. Probably one of my favorite ones, we did a leadership panel where we kind of went through like what kind of leader we are, and they took like leaders from Blizzard and actually sat us down. We got to like actually talk with them and do questions, which was really cool. Some of the founders of Blizzard even came in, so like we meet all kinds of people.
What was the most? What was the biggest thing that you learned? What was the most profound experience from it?
So one, a lot of people were saying like, you don't have to know everything before you get a job here. It's like, you think that we're all like professionals, like we know everything there is to know. Is like, that's not true. Like, we've been here 5 years, we're still learning how to do stuff. So like, don't think that like you're not experienced. It's like, jump in and get going.
It's really good advice in every category, I think. A lot of people just have the willingness to learn along the way. They're the ones that end up making it happen. I can't imagine you knew how to run a club of this size when you signed up to be the club president. But you've made it happen.
It's if you would have told me a couple years ago, like how many people would have, like, yeah, there's no way. I don't know how would I have time for that. But we made it work.
So, I browsed your LinkedIn a little bit before we did this, and you tout a 3.63 GPA, average GPA. Is that still kind of where you're sitting at?
Yep, still around a 3.6 right now. It might have gone up a little bit, I think.
That's impressive in its own right, to go to a college as competitive as Clemson, and still maintain a higher GPA and do all the stuff that you do. How do you see that? How do you manage that? How does esports impact your schooling?
Oh man, last year it was a lot because I did the esports club, was on the Overwatch team, and was on the football team. So I basically had no free time. So when I had free time at work, I would have my notes up and be doing homework and stuff, in between like throwing footage in. So basically I had no free time, especially like the weekends, working football games. Like, say the game was a noon game, I'd be there at 7 a.m., get home 2 a.m. So it was basically the whole day. So like Sundays I had to do everything, or just manage my time really well.
What do you think is the one skill of yours that's been most important to your success? Is it that time management?
Probably my work ethic. I like to do a lot. That's always been. That's how my parents are. They're always working, so I kind of got that from them. Like, I'm not afraid to, add on a lot of different tasks. Like, most people like, oh, you're doing school, esports may be a lot. But like, oh, you're doing school and esports, you shouldn't do football. Oh, you're doing that, you shouldn't be on the 18th. Like, they keep trying to like add more and more, but like I'm just like, I'm gonna go for it.
That was actually our only concern when we were first looking to get you on as an intern, was the idea that this guy does so much, does he have time to help us? Yeah. And you did a great job. So it was kind of impressive. You hear that old adage, like, people with the least amount of free time get the most done. And
yeah, exactly.
Like, you get scheduled. Yeah, so it seems that you move. Do you ever find yourself getting downtime? What do you do when you're having fun? Or when you're not, like, pushing really hard? Is it more Overwatch, pushing really hard?
Yeah, so in my downtime, it's usually just, like, watching shows or just playing more Overwatch. That's basically the only game I play right now. I've never was that big in, like, single-player games. I've always gotten into games just because of the competitive factor. So, yeah, that's usually what I do in my downtime, or sleep.
What kind of shows are you watching right now?
So I just started one called The Bodyguard. It's pretty good. It's like a BBC show. I saw a clip on Reddit. I was like, this show looks pretty good, so I got into it. And then Black Castle, which is all about like Stephen King stuff. So those are like the main two, because a lot of the shows I've been watching are like finally over. So like I was big into Westworld. Can't wait till like 2025 for season 3 of that one. And then Game of Thrones, waiting for that one still. So a lot of the shows that I've had have just been waiting on to come back.
Sounds like a normal dude. You still find the time to thumb through Netflix and Hulu and get your shows down.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Or I guess that was a lot of HBO as well. What advice do you think you could give to anybody who kind of wants to do what you do, to be a significant member of the esports program at their college?
Yeah, well, I think some colleges don't even have that big one. Just you're gonna be surprised how many people are in esports and gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Like we keep finding more and more people. We
Mm-hmm.
keep being like, oh, there's no more people on campus who play Overwatch, and then we get like 5 more people this week like, oh, we're Overwatch fans. So it's just like there's more people out there than you know. So just go out there and look for the people and try to get them involved because they're out there and they're just waiting for you.
Mm-hmm. Where do you see the collegiate scene heading from here? Do you see a consolidation coming really soon, or is that still a little bit of ways away?
It's moving quick, but I don't think it's moving quick enough.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely in the next couple years, a lot of big schools are going to be getting into it since
Mm-hmm.
there's so much pressure now from these lower schools. Like, I want to go to Clemson, like, hey, these tiny little schools are beating us and all this stuff. Like, we can't have that.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think more schools are going to, hop on pretty soon. So in a couple years, I think it'll be pretty big.
Do you think there's an unusual opportunity right now for anyone in particular? Like, say in the beginning we were talking about the smaller schools and their ability to adapt quicker to more formal teams. What do you think is the big advantage right now for the colleges, and which ones can see the biggest improvement?
Well, right now the cost is pretty low to have a team. You just need some computers in a room. It's not like
Mhm.
other sports where you have to build a facility or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really low cost, and you have a lot. You're reaching a market that you're not reaching in other sports. So it's a great opportunity to get your name out there. Like especially at Clemson, since we're like a pretty I'd say like nerdy school since engineering is like
Mhm.
one of the main majors in computer science,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of those guys aren't sports fans. So definitely esports, brings those people in. So definitely more of those schools that have like game design, computer science, engineering stuff. I think they could see a big advantage because
Mhm.
they already have the base there that supports it. And that'll just be, a big enrollment driver and just get their name out there to people who, weren't considering the college before.
Hmm. Interesting. What about this process do you think has been your favorite part?
Ooh, my favorite part. My favorite part's just been finding people who are like been super passionate about it. Like I said, we have so many general managers now, so it's really cool just to get all these people on board. And so it was actually funny. I was at Starbucks getting some work done, and one of our general managers came with his parents. They're like, "Oh, you must be Bobby." And I was like, "Oh, hey!" And I didn't realize like how many people like know me outside of esports. It's really weird. Like,
Mhm.
well, I guess these people talk to their parents about what they're doing, so I guess they know me. But I never really
Mhm.
like put two and two together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of just cool to see like the impact and everything.
Does that come in even more so when you're at one of these local gaming events and people recognize the jersey and they see the face and they may know that Bobby is the head? Does that happen to you?
Well, it's funny. All these guys, they're like, "How do you know everyone?" Because I'll be at events and like people are like, "Oh, well, what's up? Good to see you again." They're like, "How do you know these people?" And I was like, "I don't know. I like to network with people."
Mhm.
So it's always fun going to those events and seeing everyone, especially since I've been going. It's like my third year going to most of these things, so it's really good to see everyone there.
Out of the couple years that you've been as far as involved in the esports program at Clemson, what do you think has been the biggest learning experience for you? Has there been anything that maybe didn't go quite right that taught you something important?
Definitely getting people in the right positions at the
Mhm.
start and not doing everything yourself. Like it's okay to have other people do stuff because before I tried to do, everything
Mhm.
and it was impossible. I couldn't do that.
Mhm.
So if I would have gone back sooner, I would have definitely had brought on more people and have them like official roles before I got there.
So the organizational structure of how to manage.
Yeah, definitely have a structure way earlier would have helped a lot.
Hmm. Well, you were like 19 and not expected to know how to do that. I can imagine it.
Yeah.
Why the value that you've gained over the last 3 years and how to do it better. It sounds like it's been the biggest necessary learning skill to have learned, probably, because you were already a good
Yeah.
player. I'm sure you're already fine engaging with people.
Mhm.
But even from me, I mean, our organization isn't that big. To have 100 people that you gotta manage, it's a little daunting. Do you have anybody teaching you, or do you have books that you use, or you just go to the manager course and sit in a class?
Mostly I talk to other esports clubs and see how they do it.
Mm.
It's really great to see their infrastructure, and I've taken I'm a marketing major, so I've taken management classes like workplace psychology. I've taken those classes, so definitely that kind of stuff has helped before. But in terms of just structuring it, it's kind of been learning as I go.
Mm. like that's pretty much what we do. What at this point you've been engaging long enough that you were competing against people who became pros, and I'm sure in the play sets that you play with, people at your tier are pros. Is there anyone that you're particularly close with that you'd like to give a shout out, or someone who maybe you're kind of proud that you were like, oh my god, this kind of is one of my good buddies?
So it's kind of cool. Spirit, he was in contenders and he's been like top 500 and he's been rank 1 like 50 different times.
Wow.
It was actually cool because we ended up playing with him at some different lands. We actually won DreamHack Atlanta playing the open bracket with him, and his stream's been pretty big, so I play with him a lot. And then Moth, who's on San Francisco Shock, I played against him with him a lot in the college scene, so it's crazy to see him in Overwatch League. And I actually got to go to one of his matches out there and talk with him, and he got to show us around, so that was awesome.
How was Anaheim, by the way? You got to go to the source, right?
Oh yeah, it was crazy. Like the screens when you see him on the Twitch broadcast, it doesn't do it justice. It's like your entire peripheral view is just Overwatch. So that was awesome.
I really want to sit in that room and watch one of them. You were sending me screenshots of the grand finals. You had friends who were physically there helping set up, right?
Yeah, it was. So I have a lot of friends at Rutgers, and they were super close. They work with NYXL, so they were running like the homecoming event, and then they were sending me pictures. They had like a whole college meetup at the grand finals. I was like, I should have gone because there was like 50 of them. I was like, well, I just went to Overwatch League in California. I don't know if I could pay to go for a New York trip now. But yeah, I wish I would have gone. If it's close again next year or this upcoming year, I'm probably gonna go towards it.
Yeah, you gotta go. I remember you sending pictures as it was going on, doing your live viewing parties. Just so stoked. I couldn't believe you weren't physically there. I was for sure you were gonna pack up your car and just drive there overnight or something.
I was thinking about it.
Okay, Bobby, you've done an amazing job, by the way. Thank you so much again for being so open and candid with us about your experience. It's been really cool to learn more about your college and the path that you've kind of helped discover inside of your own school.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've got one last question. It's a bit of a softball. Every gamer really tends to have disproportionately strong feelings about their favorite peripheral device. That one thing that just feels just right or is better than everybody else. What's your favorite peripheral?
So it's definitely my mouse. I think it was G603. Yeah, the Logitech G603. Because before, cables drove me insane. Like I'd have cable come on my mouse, and I just could never get it to feel right. And there weren't like any gaming wireless mouses. And then Logitech came out with this one. That was kind of iffy, but then I saw like League of Legends, CS:GO's pros like playing it like in the finals of a major. So I was like, okay, if they're using it there, it's probably good enough to use. And having a wireless mouse now is just so much better. I've been trying to get my friends to switch over because they do like the mouse bungees and all that. I was like, no, just get a wireless one.
Oh no, not the mouse bungees. Oof.
Yeah, I was like, I got the wire off and I was just like, can't go back.
Yeah, you probably feel so sleek there with your wireless mouse next to their mouse bungees in the middle of the dump. That's great. Well, I'll have to take a look at that mouse. That seems cool. I like getting rid of as many wires as we can, and my Death Adder is nice, but, classic.
Yeah.
I'll keep it in mind. Well, Bobby, thanks again for coming on down. Is there anything else you want to tell everybody at the end of this, and maybe how to find out more about the Clemson program or anything you want to help support?
Yeah, so all of our social media is just at Clemson Esports. Make sure to check us out. We have a ton of teams playing, so you're going to see us streaming a lot, being on a lot of different streams, so look out for us on a bunch of different streams. Hopefully we do pretty good this year with all of our different tournaments.
Yeah, well, I wish you the best of luck at DreamHack. I look forward to see how you guys are going to compete and in the larger Tespa circuits. I know John and I are murmuring about it, but the next event we can manage, hopefully DreamHack, if nothing else. We'd love to come cheer you guys on. We're excited to see where you guys go from here.
Yeah, I get to meet everyone.
Yeah, indeed. Well, that's it for it. Thank you again. I'll be talking to you soon. Just so you know, we'll be airing this out on Friday at 6 p.m. It won't be next Friday. It'll be the Friday after that.
Okay.
Okay, but I'll ping you and let you know when it's going out and let you peek over it and stuff if you'd like.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, Bobby, best of luck. You have a good Friday.
You too.
Keep crushing it and stay in touch. I can't wait to see where you go next.
Okay. Thanks, man.
See you, bud.